They solved her case 50 years later, thanks to her twin. The house smelled like old wood and dusted dreams, the kind of scent that lingered in the bones of a place untouched for decades. Emma Bell moved slowly through her grandmother's attic, hands gloved, eyes scanning boxes faded by time. It had been 3 weeks since Eleanor Bell passed away, and with no children of her own, the responsibility of going through her belongings had fallen to Emma, her only living relative. Eleanor had lived a quiet life in that Victorian home in Maple Hollow, a sleepy town that hadn't made the news since the 1970s. But the town never forgot the story. Everyone knew the name. Isabelle Bell, the girl who vanished at 16 and was never found. Emma had grown up hearing fragments of that mystery, whispered by elders and repeated like folklore. Isabelle was her great-aunt, her identical twin. No one ever talked about her disappearance in full. Tragic, they'd say. Unsolved. A shadow that never left the family. But no one ever told her the whole truth. Now, as Emma pulled back the brittle lid of a box marked 73, the truth began to take shape. Inside was a stack of journals, a few pressed flowers, and at the very bottom, a photograph. The edges were curled. It showed 2 teenage girls in matching sundresses, one with her head tilted and eyes full of mischief, the other more reserved, her arms crossed like she knew something no one else did. Emma's heart pounded. The date on the back, July 3rd, 1973, the day before Isabelle disappeared. Emma flipped through the journal. Isabelle's handwriting, youthful and sharp. The entries painted a portrait of a girl who felt invisible. Eleanor gets all the attention. One line read, "But I see more than they think. I hear things at night. I know something happened in the cellar." Emma frowned. Cellar? There was no cellar. At least not one anyone in the family ever mentioned. More unsettling was the final entry. It was scribbled, frantic, with ink bleeding through the page. "If I go missing, it's not an accident. There's something wrong with Uncle Ray. He keeps asking me to forget. I won't." Emma's breath caught. She had never even heard of an Uncle Ray. She took a photo of the entry and backed away from the box like it might bite. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the window frames. A shiver danced up her spine. She knew what she had to do. She had to find the cellar. Emma spent hours tearing up old rugs and dusty floorboards in the basement. Cobwebs clung to her arms. The air grew colder with each step downward, like the house itself had secrets buried deep inside. Then a hollow sound. She dropped to her knees and peeled back a worn square of linoleum to reveal a trapdoor. The wood groaned when she opened it. A ladder led down into darkness. With her phone flashlight shaking in her hand, Emma climbed. The air changed, damp, earthy, and then she saw it. A small concrete room with a rusted bed frame, chains bolted to the wall, and initials scratched into the corner brick. I.B. July 4th. Emma stumbled back. Had Isabelle been kept here? Why would no one ever speak of this? A single item sat on the mattress, a ribbon. Faded blue, just like the one in the attic photo. Emma went straight to the town archives the next morning. Maple Hollow Library hadn't changed in 50 years. Dusty newspapers and microfiche still held the truth no one wanted to speak aloud. She searched for Ray Bell. Nothing. Then she widened the search. She scanned obituaries, property records, arrest logs. One article caught her eye. Local carpenter Raymond Briggs questioned in teen's disappearance. Briggs, that was Eleanor's maiden name before she married. Her brother. The article was short. Ray had no alibi the night Isabelle vanished. He claimed he'd gone for a drive. But with no body, no evidence, and no confession, the case never moved forward. Emma sat in stunned silence. The man had been questioned and forgotten. Until now. She copied everything and drove back to the house in silence. That night, sleep didn't come. Just one thought repeating in her head. What else did Eleanor hide? 3 days later, Emma received a call from an unknown number. It was Officer Darren Mayfield, a retired detective who had worked the original case in 1973. He had heard she was asking questions, and he still had something. A tape. They met in a quiet booth at the diner. He slid a cassette across the table. "This was never supposed to exist," he said. "It was recorded off the books. Your grandmother asked us not to release it. Said it would ruin the family." Emma's fingers trembled as she pressed play. The tape hissed. Then came the voice. Female. Shaking. Confused. "I saw Ray bring her back," the woman whispered. "She wasn't moving. I thought she was asleep. But she was cold." Emma froze. It was Eleanor's voice. Emma sent the ribbon and hair from the attic brush for testing, desperate for anything tangible. In the meantime, she followed the last lead. A property once owned by Raymond Briggs on the edge of town, long since abandoned. There, nestled in the overgrowth, was a collapsed shed. Beneath it, disturbed soil. Authorities were called. The remains were found 2 days later. Teen girl. 1970s clothing. Necklace with a broken heart charm. Isabelle's charm. DNA confirmed what Emma already knew. After 50 years, Isabelle had finally been found. But what the forensic team discovered next was even more chilling. The remains weren't buried alone. There were signs of a second set of bones. Smaller. Unknown. The grave hadn't just held the past. It held a second secret. The news rocked Maple Hollow. Raymond Briggs had died in 1995, but Eleanor had lived for decades with the knowledge of what had happened. Emma found one final tape, hidden beneath a loose attic floorboard. Eleanor's voice crackled through static. "I was scared," she whispered. "I saw what Ray did. He said it was an accident, that she fell. He made me help him. He buried her, and the baby." Emma stopped breathing. "The baby?" "Isabelle was pregnant," Eleanor sobbed. "That's why they fought. He said it wasn't right, that she'd bring shame. But she loved that boy. She said they were going to run away." The tape ended with 6 words. "I see her in Emma's eyes." Emma stood in front of the bathroom mirror, trembling. Her face, her eyes, they had always reminded people of someone. Now she knew who. She was the mirror of a girl stolen from the world too soon. She wasn't just related to Isabelle. She was her legacy. Forensics dated the second set of bones to a late-term fetus. The father was never identified. But Isabelle's story had finally been told. Her name was cleared. Her life acknowledged. Emma published the full truth in a memoir titled The Twin in the Attic. It made national headlines. But for Emma, the only reward that mattered was knowing her aunt, her twin in spirit, could finally rest. 3 weeks after the book's release, Emma received an anonymous letter. No return address. Just 5 words written in shaky script. There was a third twin. Inside was a baby photo. And on the back, "I was born July 4th, 1973.